Hi, everyone, and welcome to this edition of Abbey Research Reads. I'm Dr. Kristen Donnelly, and today I would like to talk about the book My Dark Vanessa. It's making a lot of best end lists, and you may have heard buzz about it, and it's sometimes being promoted as a, inheritor of Lolita, and I understand why there might be crass generalizations connecting this book to Lolita, not only because the character is given Lolita in the novel, but I find that to be not accurate for a host of reasons. So really quickly, My Dark Vanessa is a incredibly painful, insightful, searing masterwork. In an era where we have talked a lot about sexual assault survivors, Chantel Miller's incredible Know My Name came out last year. Not only us at Abbey Research, but all the documentary producers on the planet are very fascinated with the Larry Nassar case. We've had Finding Neverland. There's lots of narratives of sexual assault victims and survivors, especially in long-term relationships where quite a lot of grooming happened. And My Dark Vanessa is entirely about that kind of relationship. So when we meet Vanessa, she's 15. She's at a very elite New England boarding school, and an English teacher takes a bit of a liking to her. And we are juxtaposed in the narrative with first-person memories of what life was like for Vanessa. The whole thing is told in Vanessa's point of view, which I think is one of the reasons it's so rich. First-person memories of the building of the relationship with her teacher, and then also present day, because in the present day, somebody has accused him, another student has come forward and accused him of sexual assault. Vanessa is being a bit hounded by a journalist to also tell her story. She's really struggling with this. She's been in touch with him. We see very slowly how he earned her trust, how he convinced her that it was love. It's a lot. So overall, if you are somebody who is even remotely interested in how someone could get in this kind of relationship, if you watched, Mary Kay Letourneau and wondered what the heck the kid did, any number of things as such, and you are willing to sit with this kind of explanation and pain, I actually can't recommend this book high enough. I think it might be one of the most important empathy building reads of our time. And I think it probably would have made a little bit more buzz if it hadn't been released in 2020, just because this was not a 2020 topic, as it were. But man, is it worth your time? It took 18 years to write, and you can tell. You can tell. I'm going to get into a couple spoilers now. So if you don't want to know those, please, I'll see you in the next video. But know that this gets my endorsement. And I understand this is not for everybody. It's not a book I'm going to recommend, please rush to your independent bookseller and buy 1 million copies and give them to all your friends, like I do with some other books on this channel. But guys, this one's important. And it's a fast read. I read it in an afternoon. The prose is artfully constructed, and so you never feel whiplash in going back and forth between the two times. It's just well executed as well. So like I said, highly recommended if this is something that you're willing to sit with. And now let me get into some spoilers. I knew I was going to recommend this book before we got to the end game. I knew I was going to tell people it was worth everyone's time. I knew it was going to be something I was going to encourage people to sit with. And then I got to the ending, and it just skyrocketed the importance to me. So two major things that are wrapped up together. One is the line that Vanessa tells her therapist, "If it wasn't love, what did I build my life around?" And man, did that stop me. This girl had convinced herself, because as a coping mechanism, she had to believe the lie, and also because developmentally, when she was told the lie, it wasn't a lie, that for almost 15 years, I think longer, I think 20 really, I can't remember the exact timeline, but since she was 15 years old, this was the great love story of her life. You get little tidbits throughout the rest of the time that, like, when they met up again, it was never the same. She was too old a couple times, she says in the narrative, and that makes you go, okay. There's a couple times in the past life where you can tell she thought something was wrong. She thought something was really bad, but then that net of the myth that he created. We're in love. This is love. I've never had another girl like you. I've never loved anybody like you. You are my awakening. All these kind of language traps that he uses bring her back into the myth that he created. And then when she's sitting in that therapist's office and she realizes it's all a myth. What? The other thing is that this dude never gets his comeuppance. He realizes the writing's on the wall at one point in the story, and instead of facing any sort of justice or coming forward or offering apologies or anything else, he dies by suicide. There is no resolution in this book. And a lot of other narratives of sexual assault, especially Larry Nassar, where we really celebrate the conclusion and the victim impact statements, man, this one is a lot more normal. This one happens significantly more often, where the girl takes the fall and her whole life is upended, or the child takes the fall, or the boy takes the fall, or the man, somebody takes the fall, and their entire life is upended and shaped by this. But the perpetrator never faces any level of justice beyond any level of criminal justice or monetary justice or anything. They may live in a prison of their own making, where we kind of get an inkling that this particular individual may have done that. But right before he dies, he mails her all the evidence that he ever had of their relationship, the things he kept for 15 years, like naked Polaroids of her as a teenager, so that they would never be connected. And you can tell in the narrative that she can't tell if this is a final act of love or a final act of covering his ass. And she doesn't know how to make it both, or if it's allowed to be both or anything. And that just, man, most people I am close with who have been sexually assaulted, I've never been close to somebody who was groomed at this level. Let me be clear in this narrative, but none of my friends have gotten justice, really. None of them have seen their perpetrator go to court. None of them have been able to face their perpetrator again. Most of them don't want to, but there's still this, like, this is the much more familiar narrative of just learning to live with it and learning for it to be a part of you. Additionally, at the end of the book, she adopts a dog, and the entire resolution of the book is that she kind of looks at the dog and say, "He never knew you. You're my new life now." And this incredibly simple but very definitive act, I think developmentally is so important for this character, but also so important for us to realize that like rebuilding your life doesn't need to be done with a lot of intense reconstruction if you don't want it to. It really can be as simple as adopting a dog. There's a line from a Gregory Alan Isakov song that Dr. Aaron loves, where I'm paraphrasing, but it's essentially like, the best books are the ones that don't leave you after they end. And this one, I don't know if it will leave me for a very long time. If you read it, if you've read it, if you consider reading it, please come back here and tell me your thoughts. I read this one a bit in a vacuum. I didn't look at other reviews. I haven't looked at other reviews. Everybody else may hate this. I don't know. And I am very open to the fact that some survivors especially may not love it and be comfortable with it. As somebody who has researched this for a really long time, this resonates with a lot of stories of women I've interviewed and women who I've read their stories of, but I recognize that it might not resonate with everybody. But in terms of empathy, if this is not your story, if you are not connected to this world of grooming and child assault and sexual assault, which especially seems to happen at boarding schools and institutions, which we've been talking about on this channel and in the rest of our work, like I said, one of the most important empathy reads of recent memory to me. So that's it. Like I said, wholeheartedly recommend My Dark Vanessa, and we'll see you guys next time. Well, recommend with caveats, and you get it. But we'll see you next time with another book review on Abbey Research Reads.